Welcome to Ask the Tech Coach, brought to you by the TeacherCast Educational Network. If you are in charge of professional development and looking to build an innovative digital learning experience, this is the podcast for you. Join us each week as we uncover strategies that tech coaches are using to drive their digital transformations one classroom at a time. And now for your host, with over 2 decades of experience working with tech coaches and ed tech companies from all around the world, Jeff Bradbury.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. This is Ask the Tech Coach podcast, episode number 106. Today, we're going to be talking about augmented reality and how you can help your hybrid learning classrooms have some amazing technology and some amazing lessons in your place using a great website platform called Seek Education. I have the founder and the developer on today. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the great things that's also going into all the stuff happening in tech coach world. I hope you guys are starting the year off good. I know for me, our students are still out. They're actually coming back this week. I'm looking forward to seeing all my kids. Guys, don't forget, we've got some great things going on each and every week here on the Tech Coach Network. We have our Wednesday roundtable meetings at 8:30 Eastern, a great time for tech coaches to get together, discuss what's happening in their buildings, and support and share resources. Also, we have our brand new Tech Coaches Network. You can register for free today over at teachercast.net/TC and form. We would love to have you guys. We have almost 150 tech coaches on there and growing every single day. We are looking forward to a great year supporting you and your program. If you're a single tech coach or if you're one of an entire group, we would love to have you guys be a part of our Tech Coaches Network. Of course, this and all of our shows can be found over at teachercast.net, and you can find everything over on askthetechcoach.com. Welcome, and thank you guys again for making TeacherCast a part of your professional learning network. My guest today is the creator of an amazing augmented reality application called Seek Education. I want to bring on today Parker McDonough. Parker, how are you today? Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. I'm doing great.
I am so happy that you're here because, a couple of weeks ago on our Tech Coach Roundtable, we started talking about different applications that we want to try to figure out how to use in different learning environments, right? As we're starting off the year, things are different. We have teachers that are fully virtual. We have teachers that are hybrid. We have school districts that are doing, a blended learning environment where half the kids go on a Monday, half the kids go on a Tuesday, and teachers are trying to figure out how to combine all of these things into one learning experience. I am so happy today that we're talking about augmented reality and where it fits in. So talk to us a little bit about Seek Education and tell us a little bit about augmented reality. People still aren't quite sure what this actually is.
Definitely. Like you said, I think everyone right now is just looking for any tool to help. We're all going through this together. We haven't had to experience this before, this rapid change to online. So every resource out there is helpful, and we're trying to figure out what's the best option. And so I'm going to start off with your question about what is augmented reality. I think that augmented reality is such a new technology that it will be helpful just to give a brief overview to everyone, depending on how much you know about it, and then go from there. So augmented reality, the basic simple explanation of it is if you've ever seen Pokemon Go or you're played with any of the Snapchat filters, that is augmented reality technology. On a more technical definition, AR, which is augmented reality, is the technology that expands our physical world by adding digital layers of information on top of it. So you've probably heard of augmented reality or virtual reality. Maybe you think of the big headsets or goggles. That's virtual reality. And the difference between augmented reality and virtual reality is that the AR, or augmented reality side, is your physical environment. It's your real, actual reality with interactions of this digital layer added on top. Whereas virtual reality is an entirely virtual world. So that's the difference between VR and AR. VR uses things like headsets and goggles, but augmented reality uses things like your smartphone, tablets, or mobile devices. So you interact with both worlds, and you can clearly distinguish between the both with augmented reality.
My 6-year-olds recently got into augmented reality using our iPads, and they love the fact that they can find an application, they interact with it, they move things around. I got to tell you, one of their favorite applications is the Sydney Zoo. They like playing with kangaroos and making them jump around the screen. I love the fact that students are able to see these things, touch these things, feel these things. Here's my question to you. In my school district, we have 40 to 50% of the students are not going to be in the schools. I even believe in my building it's 60 to 65. And on a recent New York Times study, I believe they said 1 in 7 parents are not bringing their students back in. When we're looking at technology gaps, when we're looking at the I have this, you have this, we have this, is there a place for augmented reality in virtual and hybrid classrooms?
Definitely. One quick note on that. I was reading that same New York Times article, and 1 in 7 students are going back to school. It's actually 6 in 7 that aren't. So I think this number is huge. And I think most parents are trying to decide how are they going to manage this hybrid approach, like you mentioned, because as we know, a lot of parents are working, they're trying to manage both things. And so most students will be attacking this hybrid approach. Luckily, augmented reality is something that can be done anywhere. And that's kind of the beauty of it. So it can be done at home. It can be done if you're in the classroom. So it actually fits perfectly in with this hybrid approach that most schools around the nation are going to be attacking.
What kind of devices do students need? A lot of students have a Chromebook. Doesn't necessarily have to be the latest or the greatest. Some students have inking devices. Some students just have their phones. Are these platforms, and we can talk a little bit more about Seek Education specifically, are these device agnostic? Can anybody use this?
Yeah, that's the beauty of augmented reality. And I think that's kind of where AR is taking off a lot more than VR, is because it's a lot more scalable. With VR, you had these expensive, clunky headsets. School districts just had a really hard time implementing them at a large scale. With augmented reality, they work on any smartphone, any tablet, and the 3D viewer and rendering, which is very interactive and immersive, works on all Chromebooks. So it's very cross-functional across many devices. And I think that's kind of the beauty and the scalability of augmented reality.
When we're looking at these different things, I teach a very specialized course. I teach, technology education. I teach broadcasting. I don't find a lot of stuff out there for my specific focus. I see a lot of science stuff. I see a lot of astronomy. I see some health things with body parts and stuff. Talk to us a little bit about where we can go to find lessons, resources, and how can we get started in this environment?
Yeah, like you mentioned, augmented reality is obviously very object-based. So if you think of any subjects that are primarily focused on objects, that's where augmented reality is going to be very beneficial. So this is things like art, history, like you mentioned, anatomy, a lot of the sciences, astronomy, anything that you study an object or an object is involved. Now you can even use this in math with trigonometry or geometry, things that have shapes and spaces. It's a little bit harder to use with things like English or writing, obviously, because it's not primarily object-based. Now you can bring in some objects from literature and different books, but that's kind of the beauty of Seek Education's platform, is it has all of the resources in one spot as a complete platform. And that is one of the things that kind of sets us apart, is being able to find all the resources in once. Because right now, the last thing that teachers or schools want is another software that they have to learn and try to figure out how to use and implement with all their students. So it's nice to be able to just have all the information there in a simple place.
Now, when we're looking at this, first of all, tell us a little bit about where we can find more information about Seek, and tell us a little bit about the platform. How does it work? What does a teacher need to do to not only just use the platform, but really take advantage of it with their students?
Definitely. Our website is education.seekxr.com. So that is where you can find us. If you type in seek.education as well, that will come up. That will lead you to our homepage, and on there you can read more about Seek Education and all the augmented reality features that we offer. But how it would work for a typical teacher or for schools to implement this is they would get an account, and there's a few different licenses that we offer. We offer teacher accounts, we offer school accounts, district accounts, depending on your needs. And if a teacher were to log in and create their account, they receive 30 licenses for their classroom, and then those can be added upon, and you can get more licenses as necessary. But once you're into the platform, it'll give you a bunch of different options based off grade level or based off subject or category. We also have virtual field trips that we'll talk about in a little bit. But the way to think about our platform is it's very simple. It's almost like a Netflix style platform. So it's a content platform, it's a content library where all the information is obviously categorized for you, and you can create your own list and save featured models to your lists that are going to be relevant to your specific curriculum. But the beauty of it is that it can be implemented into every existing curriculum. So Seek Education isn't a curriculum. We're not taking the spot of teachers. It's not a homeschooling or a virtual learning platform. It is an additional resource that can be thought of like an image or video or a slideshow, but instead of being a visual aid, it's an experiential aid. So it's just that much more powerful. But yeah, just think of it as the Netflix of online AR education. The platform's super easy to use and navigate.
I love the fact that on your website, again, seek.education, you've got resources for students, teachers, administrators, but you've also got a section for parents. Talk to us a little bit about how you guys are interacting with not only the classroom, but the community as well.
Definitely. I think that, like we mentioned before, 7 out of 8 parents are going to be responsible for a lot of the hands-on learning of their students. And obviously teachers are going to do the best that they can, but they're not going to be there in person. The parents are going to be the ones there in person. So we understand the large task at hand for all parents around the world and of course the nation as well. And we know that parents are superheroes, and we're sure that they'll get the task done, but we also understand that they have other duties and responsibilities. So I think that's one of the beauties of the platform, is that parents can so accessibly and easily use it to help their students receive this interactive and immersive education that they're going to be missing out through virtual learning. Obviously, we're doing our best to make that experience the best we can, but there are just some areas that students will not be able to get and receive with this hybrid approach. And I think that's where parents are going to be able to use this platform to fill in those gaps.
Now, you're mentioning the gaps, and I think that's really important because we still work in an environment where there are gaps. Teachers are trying to create, but not only, the students don't have access, the Wi-Fi is this or that. Yet this technology is so amazing in the fact, we're looking here at your website and we're seeing virtual tours, virtual classrooms, virtual experiences. Talk to us a little bit about what augmented reality can do when it comes to things like virtual classrooms, being able to put students in that museum, in that city, at that event. How does Seek Education help bring the world into a classroom that honestly right now it's struggling because students can't get up and experience the world?
Perfect. Great question. So I was looking at a survey done the other day by educationdata.org, and they said that the number one concern for parents right now, based off this survey, is maintaining student engagement. 80% of parents are worried about that. And so I think this is where the Edgar Dale Cone of experience comes into play. I'm speaking to an audience of educators, so I won't go into explaining much of that, but the Edgar Dale Cone of experience basically measures our retention after a 2-week time period of receiving the information. And on that cone of experience, it says that we remember 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, and 30% of what we see. But that number jumps to 90% once we experience something, once we simulate something. And so I think that is where we're going to be having the largest gap in this hybrid system, is we're not going to be in the classroom experiencing or simulating these life events or these models, or in the anatomy lab looking at different things, or having the 3D skeleton, or doing crafts or science experiments with the beakers and flasks. All of these experiences that raise that retention rate to 90% are no longer there when we're not in the classroom. And so that's where I see the largest use case for augmented reality, is being able to jump to that retention rate of an experience, because that's what education is all about.
Now, one of the things that I want to ask about is how we as tech coaches can bring this technology into our buildings. I've heard the stories time and time again where people go out and they get thousands of dollars in things like augmented reality goggles and virtual reality things and the Google expeditions and all of that stuff. And then it sits in the corner because A, nobody really gets it. B, resources are limited. C, maybe the tech coach doesn't have time to be the champion for every single technology and things are busy. How do we create an environment where this is the culture, this awesome experience of being able to put your hand out and try something and move it around and see what it's all about? How do we as tech coaches help to foster that love of interactivity with our teachers so that way they can then turnkey it into our classrooms without us being there?
Great question. I think that is what has primarily prohibited VR and AR from taking off, just like you mentioned, is this hardware that we buy that's extremely expensive and it just sits there because of the difficulty of use or other issues. And that's the beauty of Seek Education in this platform, in augmented reality and the advances that it has made in the last couple of years, is that it requires no additional hardware. It requires no additional software. It's not an app. So it's completely web-based. All you need is the internet. And for students to do a hybrid approach anyways, they have to have that. So that's we're good in that aspect. But the beauty of this platform is it works on smart devices, and most students nowadays have smart devices, or at least in the classroom, they have access to 1 or 2 iPads or Chromebooks or something of that nature. And so if we're working with the technology department, we're pretty sure that they have the resources that we need to use our technology, which is just a smartphone, a tablet, or a Chromebook or a laptop. And so that's the beauty and scalability of this, is it's very accessible. You don't have to have special, and especially right now when we're going to be working from home, the last thing we could do is implement new hardware, apps, or learning platforms for the teacher. So it's extremely simple. All it requires is copying a QR code or clicking on a link, and then there you have the AR experience right in front of you.
Talking today to Parker McDonough all about his great company here, Seek Education, an amazing AR resource for teachers, students, parents, community. Parker, I want to say thank you so much for your time today. In closing here, let's just kind of do a wrap up and talk a little bit about where the future of this goes. We've seen AR kind of come out. We've seen AR start to take over classes. Now it's available. Now it's on tablets, Chromebooks, iPads, etc. It's widely available. As a developer, where are you excited about the future? What does the next 6, 8, 10 months look like? I usually ask the question this way. At ISTE next year, what will we be celebrating in the world of AR?
Hopefully at this point next year, we're back in the classroom. That's what I'm hoping for everyone. But within AR, the thing I'm most excited about and what's really taking off right now is what we're calling a virtual field trip. Right now, we have not been able to go on field trips, obviously, in education. We haven't been able to go to museums. We haven't been able to explore or go on trips. All that's been closed. And so these augmented reality field trips allow you to be completely immersed in an environment. And so that means that we can go and visit Stonehenge right now. We can go and see all the models in the Louvre Museum. We can go and walk across the Great Wall of China. And this can all be done on these virtual field trips that teachers can just put up on their slideshow, or they can send out in their LMS. And with the simple scan of a QR code, a student that would normally never be able to experience that because of cost or distance or so many other factors can now be experiencing the great sights of the world and feel that they have been able to experience so many great things that this world has to offer in the cultures and the art and all the monuments. And so I think that is really where augmented reality in the next 6 months to a year, like you asked, is going to allow people to just experience and expand their knowledge on so many different things.
Well, tech coaches, we would certainly love to hear from you guys. Let us know if you're using augmented reality, and if you have any questions, it'll certainly be a topic on an upcoming Tech Coach Roundtable. I'm excited about all the great stuff happening over at Ask the Tech Coach. Parker, one last time, what is your website and how can we interact with your interactions?
Our website is education.seekxr.com. And that website will explain everything that we have to offer and give you a 14-day free trial that you can go and try it out for yourself and see if augmented reality is for you, for your students, or for your classroom.
Excellent, Parker. Thank you so much for your time. And guys out there, thank you so much for taking the time to make TeacherCast your part of your weekly professional development. We are just getting started here on the Tech Coaches Network. Not only do we have a great platform that we're building specifically for you, the instructional technology coach, but also we have our Monday weekly podcast, and we have our brand new show happening every single week on the Beluga Network. So check us out over on live.beluga.org for all of the great stuff happening exclusively on our Beluga show. We call it Tech Coach Weekly. On behalf of Susan, Parker, and everybody here on the TeacherCast Educational Network, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.
You've been listening to Ask the Tech Coach, hosted by Jeff Bradbury of the TeacherCast Educational Network. Please reach out to the show with all of your questions on Twitter at AskTheTechCoach or online at www.askthetechcoach.com. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And please take a moment to write a review in the App Store.